Hi, welcome back. My name is Holly-Beth, and this is my little space where I talk about anything to do with the crafts that I'm doing at the time, which is majority knitting, but sometimes a bit of everything else. I haven't been around for like a year and a half, and there's multiple reasons for that, but I have a lot of projects to show you on, so I thought we could go through those today of everything that I knit slash made in 2023 and 2024 to bring us all the way up to speed to right now, which is 2025. So if that is something that you would like to see, then just keep watching. I feel like the easiest way to do it, especially since I don't have everything with me, is to more do it in categories, but in those categories go from 2023 to 2024. So say for example, if I'm looking down, it's because I've got my a lot of my notes here. More than just knitting as well. I've been doing knitting, crochet, I've been sewing, I have been doing cross stitching and other little bits as well. I won't be showing everything for multiple reasons. There is either too much to show of an individual item, or they are things that I made as gifts, or things I just don't have anymore. I'll mention it, I'll put photos where I can. I think first things first, I'm going to go through a bunch of the smaller things that I need to go through with you. In 2023, I made a set of 2 coasters. This went to a friend as a gift. I think at this point I was still recording videos, so there probably would have been something about that last time I uploaded a video. They look like this. They were made out of just a grey cotton. I want to say that it was using vintage cotton. I didn't use much of it. I put little buttons on them. This is a pattern that I feel weird saying that I made, because it's literally just as simple as just a standard coaster. I may still put that out as like a little free note pattern note, I don't know, because I do think that they are possibly the nicest coasters I have made still in regards to like the pattern. So yes, there is these. I also made not one but 2 fluffy stars. So this is in my scenario where I was trying to use up stash yarn, something that I'm really doing this year, and I have no idea how to start that video off because it's just going to be a lot and it's going to be a bit overwhelming, I think, to go through. But I have a lot of yarn. I want to go through it, and I've been really excited going through it bit by bit, and I'm like, I should be doing this so other people can live through that as well. So like, then you can kind of like see my thought process. Yarn that I have projects A for, etc, etc. Either way, I went through. This is when I first started doing my de-stash of certain yarns, and I had this little fluffy eyelash yarn, I guess. I don't know what it was. I want to say I got it at a charity slash craft store thing. So I made 2. I followed a pattern in one of my books. I think it might be like this one here. I used a 4mm needle and I used up all of this yarn. And I made 2 little stars. One of them my dog stole, and that's fine because he loved it. The other one is somewhere, but I couldn't find it when I was looking for it. So it's in here somewhere, but as I said, we've moved house a few times. It's probably in a box somewhere that I'm still yet to get to. I have made so many scrunchies as like a way of stash busting. I've got an Etsy, things like that. I have been doing little bits here and there to sell smaller items. They're easy to sell at a smaller price. So they're a little bit more affordable for people, and they're really fun to do. Honestly, they're just sitting around. It's absolutely great. I think more towards the end of 2023 / moving into 2024. I think what I will touch on next is baby items. Right at the start, oh gosh. So right at the start of 2023, I finished and sent off a gift for, well, I say friend, one of friends, that both of them, I love them both, they're amazing. I've known them for years. I talk about them a little bit in those podcasts every time I did an update. They had their little boy, and I sent off a baby hat, mittens, and a blanket. The hat and the mittens I think were too small by the time they got there. But it was all very well received. It was very sweet. That was really fun. I used a bunch of yarn to do that. I'm also looking at my screen because I'm trying to read the information. The yarn I used for it was Teddy Vanguard, which is a 100% acrylic. It's said it's a sport weight, but honestly I would say it's more of a DK. Just to kind of go through it super quick, the hat was made with the baby hat with top knot Tegan by Julie Taylor, which I believe, yeah, is a free pattern on Ravelry. The mittens were the Easy Garter Stitch Baby Mittens by Marianna. Marianna's Lazy Daisy Days is the store I guess that they're published in. Also on Ravelry it is free on like a blog-ish page. And then the blanket, which I absolutely loved, I wanted to make another one, never got round to it, but maybe I will soon, was the Blockstitch baby blanket or washcloth, and it was by Churchmouse Yarns and Teas. This was also a free pattern, and honestly I would really recommend that one in particular. It was really fun, it was really easy to do, and it looked really lovely. I used a nice amount of yarn out my stash, and honestly that colour was really nice. I still do have the tiniest bit left, but of course I don't know what to do with it, so that will probably be something matching that will get sent up at some point. But yes, so I made that. Just pop around in regards to when I made certain things, because this is also for that same person, so I'm just gonna move ahead and then come back. So I started and finished this in September. I made the little raw top, is by Claire Slade, and it's it's in one of the Knit Now magazines, issue 62. I'm pretty sure I bought that because you can buy magazines, which is really nice, and I honestly don't remember where I got it from, but I think it was from just their general like where you can buy all of their magazines back anyway. And I got this pattern in there. Yeah, I cast it on. It's basically just a little t-shirt, baby t-shirt. I made it in the 12 to 18 months, but honestly I think it turned out a bit small, even though my gauge was fine. I used Drops Paris in the colour dark grey, and I used just under three skeins of it to finish the top. I also used some really cute buttons, which I went out and bought when I was I think I actually bought those buttons. My partner and I were camping. I think this is when we went down south. We went down south, and then like the week after we went up north, both to see friends and this family as well. I'm pretty sure when I was down south there was a yarn store there that I bought the buttons from, and they were really lovely. I'll put the yarn stores in the description because they were really lovely people, really lovely stores, super cute, and yeah, they're really great. So yeah, I made that t-shirt and I was really proud of it. I even put like a little tag on like the edge of the sleeve, like a little handmade tag, and it was just really cute. So one of the last things I would have probably reported on, I guess is what I'm going to say, in 2023 was me talking about a patchwork blanket that I was working on for my baby niece. That when I started it wasn't born yet. When I finished it she was maybe like a couple weeks old, maybe. I don't remember. Either way, I finished it in the same month that she was born. I don't remember if I finished it before or after. But it was using the Coziest Memory blanket pattern by Kemper Wray, which is like a knit mitered square blanket pattern. And it's also a free pattern, so that's really lovely. I am very much gonna have to look at my screen for this, but I used, yeah, no, I did actually. I used 3 different types of yarns. I used the Janelle Baby 4-ply. That was my like peachy, more maybe ballerina pink colour. I used Gerald, super soft baby 4-ply. That was the white colour, and I also used like another acrylic from my stash that was, it kind of looked a bit like roving yarn. It wasn't, or it kind of looked like roving yarn, and it had like a a silver tinsel running through it, which was so pretty. And I used mostly all of that yarn up, apart from a little bit of white, like the tiniest bit of white and the tiniest bit of pink. I then made a pair of mittens, but that patchwork blanket is still being used by my niece to this day, and I have so much love for her. I love her so much, and I love this blanket so much, and I have said for ages I would like to make another one, but that hasn't happened, so maybe I need to get on that and make another one, because it was really fun. I then made some pink and white baby mittens. They were for a friend, so within the space of a year I had my friends have a baby boy in February, in May, what? In March. Then my baby niece was born in May. And then I also had another friend really close to me, who I also consider as one of my best friends now. She also had a little girl in July. So within the space of like 6 months, 5 months, I had 3 babies around me, and I made these little mittens for them. This was for their little girl, and it means even more so now that I was able to gift something that everyone saw whilst they were here. So yeah, and I used up the rest of that pink and the rest of that white, and they are made into these really cute mittens. They are the No Scratch Baby Mitts by Handknit Yarn Studio, which are also a free pattern. Okay, and then I made a lilac chunky baby blanket. This was, and I also made a yellow chunky baby blanket, and part of me wishes I'd put them together. They are for sale and they haven't sold yet, and I might just do that. I might just unravel it all and put them together, but I honestly didn't enjoy working with this yarn, so I don't know if I want to put myself through that. But I did use up all 4 skeins in both blankets. This yarn was a Aldi yarn, the So Crafty Chunky, I think, in the lilac and the yellow. I think it was just yellow. Oh, Sunshine. It was called Sunshine. And I basically freehanded the patterns for both of these, and lots of trial and error. I ripped it out multiple times to get it how it is now, because I just wasn't happy with how it looked. It wasn't big enough. I was trying to utilize the space that I had, or rather how much yarn I had, to make it as good of a size and shape as I could. So I made those, and then I think finally, before I get onto the last baby thing that I made, and I wish I had her here to show, but I don't, and yeah, I actually made a knitted stuffy or plushie out of the Knitted Animal Friends book by Louise Crowther. This was I spoke to my brother and my sister-in-law, who are the parents of my beautiful little niece, and I asked them before she was born, you know, I'd quite like to make one of these. Which animal do you like? And if you want the clothes, what clothes do you like? Well, we didn't quite get as far as the clothes, which we'll kind of see in my finish it February thing. But they did choose one of the animals, and they chose the duck, which more specifically is Amelia the duck. And yeah, she looked like this. So you follow all the patterns that are in the book. Mostly everything's knit flat. You do a lot of seaming stuff. I did embroidered eyes, which was really fun to learn, and I used all the recommended yarn for her, which was the stonewashed in a brand that I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to, but I'll put the name on the screen. And it was in the moonstone and the coral colour. I did start her clothes, but I didn't get her clothes finished by her birthday, because this is what this was for. I made it for her birthday. So for her first birthday, she got this little gorgeous little duck. I did buy more yarn a while ago to make more animals from these books, because I have both It's like right here. I have both the knitted animals and then the wild knitted animals. I also have her like knitted doll book. And she just has great patterns. I would like to make more. So watch this space, I guess. The last baby item before I get on to other things. I made just two, maybe, two baby socks. Oh, for reference, everything before the duck was 2023. Amelia the duck was in 2024, and then also these socks were also in 2024. This is summer 2024. I made two of these socks, which you probably would have seen these before, like this yarn before. I made like a short years ago. Oh, to be fair, I say you would have. I haven't been on here for a while, so I don't expect you to remember, nor do I expect you to see the video. I did a short where I was knitting on like a bandana in this yarn. I think I also maybe talked about knitting things in this yarn in a few podcasts, maybe, because I really did like this yarn. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I think it's an acrylic wool, but it could just be an acrylic. But it's really lovely. I made two pairs. The first ones, which is this one, I think I made a mistake in this one, and I honestly don't know where. I think it was like, oh yeah, it was around like the heel. I had picked up on this stitch in particular, I'd picked up one stitch too far in, so it wasn't in line, and I was like, well, that's really frustrating. The second pair is in my sell box for Etsy, because they are a lot nicer than, they don't have any mistakes in them. But I figured that, hey, well, I'll keep all of them. I'll either give them to someone when they have a kid, or I'll just keep them. So not a problem. So I made two of these. I used that really beautiful mermaid yarn, and it's just, the colours are not coming up good here. So I'm going to put a photo again of the finished product page on my Ravelry, because you can see the colours are a lot better. And I used a simple knitted sock pattern, which was in a little leaflet that came in a Simply Knitting magazine, and I don't remember what issue that came in. And there's only one size, I think, in this pattern, so these are the newborn socks. No, they're not. No, they're not. Are they? No, they're not. Maybe? I don't know. I know it was the issue you also got like some baby sock blockers, so, which are cute as heck, by the way. And then I think that will take us into socks. I think that's the way I want to do it. I think that's what I was thinking when I thought I'd do socks first. I have a bunch of socks that I've made. In total, I'm not entirely sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pairs of finished socks, including these baby socks. And then I also have whips, but as I said, we're not going through those. I have made my partner my fiance. Weird. I've made my fiance 3 pairs of socks now. I made my first pair for him. I started in 2022 and I finished them in January 2023. Don't remember the date. Maybe my podcast can let me know. I don't know. But I just put January on Ravelry, so I don't know. But all of these 3 pairs of socks, are in the Mjuk brand, which is a yarn in Norway, and it's the Frost Ragegarn, which is a DK sock yarn. That's interesting. On Ravelry it says 80%, 80-20, 80 wool, 20 nylon, but I was under the impression it was like 75-25, but actually no, that would make sense, 80-20. So 80% wool, 20% nylon. And I've done them in different colours. Apart from the last 2, they were both in navy blue, I think. I don't have pictures on Ravelry, so I need to grab pictures from him. But the first one, so pretty much all of my DK socks, all of my DK socks, I've used the same pattern. It is the DK Treasures Ribbed Socks pattern by Christine Longderks, and this, I want to say, is a free pattern. And after making so many pairs of socks, I realised that it wasn't me being silly and I didn't know what I was doing, but the pattern was actually wrong. I wonder if anything else has been said since my comment. I'm not sure, but I left a comment. I was so confident in myself, and I had worked through the numbers and I'd done trial and error, and it was on the heel, where you do the heel turn, that first row where you usually go to halfway through the heel, or just over. The number wasn't right in the pattern. It's like the one thing, and I always ended up with like one less stitch on one of the sides, and I always ended up doing like at both ends of the row. As you do a standard heel turn, you usually end up, unless you're doing a specific pattern, with a purl two together and a SSK or something, and there will be the last 2 stitches, so you'll literally finish on that type of stitch. But I was doing like one row of SSK, and then there was still a stitch, and then I was doing a purl two together, and then I was doing the final SSK, and I had another 2 purl together, and it wasn't right. So I messed about with the pattern a bit with the numbers, and I'd worked out it was 1 stitch off, and I put a comment on this pattern saying, hey, I think I love this pattern, I've been using it for several socks, and I do recommend the pattern, but I think one of the stitch numbers is off. I think the amount of stitches you need to do, and I don't know if I explained it very well, but she did reply saying that it made perfect sense and that she was going to revise the pattern. I haven't seen an update for it, but just a little heads up, if you want to knit these stitches on the heel turn, you can see my comment on there. Instead of 12, it's meant to be 13. So that's just a little like heads up. Once I did that, I had a lot more fun with the pattern, because there's nothing worse than when you're doing a pattern and you're doing it wrong to the pattern, but you know that you're doing it right. You wouldn't have thought English is my first language, would you? So anyway, all that to say, I made this pair of first socks for my partner. They're in a black and white version of said yarn. If it helps, I can put the colour codes also on the screen. I knit those exactly to pattern with the length of the leg. I know exactly how many rounds I need to do for his feet, for his socks, and his second sock was in the same yarn, different colour, but it was like a navy blue and white, and I did a shorter pair on the leg because he said, you know, I really like these, could you make a slightly shorter one? So we did that. We worked out where he might want it, and then after wear he said, well, hey, actually I love both these socks and I do wear them, but could you make me a third pair, and in this third pair could you do an in-between? So he did. So that first and second sock was in 2023, and the third sock, oh my god, the third sock, this in-between sock, was also in a navy and blue, and it was in like an in-between amount of rows and rounds, and that was in 2024. That was actually August 2024, and it was for his birthday. So yeah, I made him 3 pairs of socks. My first pair of socks was a flop. I did finish them and I did wear them, but I didn't realise / hadn't really looked hard enough at the same designer. She had the same pattern in a 4-ply rather than a DK, but I just decided to use the DK for Drops Delight. Don't really know what I was going with there. I actually don't know. I think Drops Delight has been discontinued as of right now. I want to say it will tell me on here. Yes, it has been. It's been discontinued. So you can't actually get Drops Delight anymore. The Drops Delight that I got was actually on sale, but I just thought they were getting rid of the colours. I didn't think that they were discontinuing the yarn itself. But it was in the like pinks colour, like the pink purple. And I made a short pair of socks myself, and honestly I know I'm not going to use those, and I think I actually might rip both of those out and reknit in the actual pattern amount. They're a very similar pattern. Treasured Toes Simple Ribbed Socks. I made a terrible decision to use that yarn for that pattern, and it works, but they're very thin. Which isn't what I want for wool socks. So I think I will probably rip those out at some point and redo those, but I don't have a picture of those. I don't have those with me because I wasn't actually that bothered about bringing them back from Norway. So Yeah, they're in Norway still, and they're there when I'm there. I can use them, but I think I'm gonna bring those back and rip them out and redo it. So all that to say, this is what they look like, and yeah, they'll probably end up getting ripped out. But I made those, and that's my only pair of socks that were a complete flop. That I'm not like really proud of. Okay, then we go into my first DK socks, and I do actually have some of these with me now because I've used these a lot. I will say they're quite dirty on the bottom, even though they have been washed, because I have worn these to death. And they've also felted at the bottom and on like the bit here, like on the heel. But these are also in the Muke brand Ragagon, and they're like in the grey, cream, merly beige kind of. Did I say grey, beige, and white? And I still absolutely wear these to death, and I love them. I just love them so much. I do wish I had a pair that was longer, so a bit like my partner. Just yeah. And yeah, so I have these, and I was really proud of these. And at the time, me and my partner could match because we had DK handknit socks. I love them a lot, as you can tell. And I need to make more DK socks for myself. I just need to make more socks for myself because I've only got 3 handknit pairs, which I'm going to go through, going to continue with now. I made these in 2023, September 2023. I'm pretty sure these only took me 2 weeks. Actually, yeah, because I did these whilst we were camping. So when we went up north, so in the first week, I did the t-shirt for my friend that we were going up north to see in the first week, and then the second week when we were actually up north, I was knitting on these. So actually, yes. Also in 2023, these are the last pair of socks I did in 2023. I made myself my first pair of 4-ply socks, and this is using, oh, I didn't write it down, did I? I will have to grab a picture of the yarn because I don't have it in my notes. It's one of those things where I kept the yarn to the side to measure it to see how much I used it. Either way, these were using Stylecraft Head Over Heels Walking in Nature, I think. Also yarn I bought in those independent yarn stores, and I tend to wear these either with the leg up, or I will fold the cuff down. And again, they're a bit grubby because I have worn the absolute heck out of them. I love them. I think they're great. So yes, this was using that 4-ply version of the pattern, Treasured Toes Simple Ribbed Socks by Christine Longders. And this pattern was fine. And actually it was knitting on this pattern that prompted me to realise that the DK weight one was wrong, because there was no issues with this pattern, but the numbers were off on the DK, which is what prompted me to try and work out what was going on. So yes, those, very lovely. They were knit on 2.5mm. I want to say these were knit on 3.5, just as like a reference. I'm just going to again skip around a little bit. This is kind of a started in 2023 and then I finished in January 2024 because I actually casted these on a Christmas Eve. These were my Christmas Eve cast on. I was supposed to do that last year as well and I completely forgot. So go me. I think I will probably put up a photo of all of these things here so you can see the colour a bit better, because the colour is really not coming through very particularly well. These are what I'm calling my holly socks. So these are the Midsummer Dancer socks by Sari Nordlund. And I actually I didn't do the full repeat here. I actually made it a bit shorter, but it should be longer. Because I was worried I didn't have enough yarn, and I did not need to be worried. I had enough yarn to do it. So I know for next time that I can do the full repeat with a 50-gram skein and a 30-gram. I'm unsure. But the yarn that I used for this was in the colourway Holly, and it was a sock set from Blue Fern Yarns in their classic sock base, and I loved this yarn so much when I saw it online that there was absolutely no way I was not buying it. Particularly, obviously, my name's Holly, and I am a Christmas baby, 21st of December. There was no way that I wasn't going to make some Holly socks. And I loved it. I loved this pattern as well. I really like this heel. I really want to try some afterthought heels and other heels, but everyone I meet and everyone I hear say that they always go back to the heel flapper gusset because it fits their foot better compared to like an afterthought and stuff like that. And I'm just like, am I going to waste my time making socks that I know are not going to be very happy on my feet? I don't know, but I love these socks. And you can also tell that I have worn them to death as well, and these are in just perfect condition, no felting. I love them. I was very nervous to block these because hand knit yarn, if you don't know, hand dyed yarn, if you don't know, they do their absolute best when it comes to rinsing out colour, but colour bleeding can be a thing. And they give you, like, most of the time, they give you a little card as to how to wash your yarn. But I was so nervous because obviously this is a light and a bright red. And that is just not it. But it didn't really bleed that much. It did a little bit on just on like the first row, but really you can't even tell. So I was really happy with that. This was my first finished project, I think, of 2024. So yeah. And then also in 2024 I finished and sent off I finished and sent off socks for my best friend. These socks were also a 4-ply sock. They looked very similar to this. I think I might have even done this bit a bit longer. And she has bigger feet than me, so they are bigger than these in general. But we bought this yarn together. This was the one I went down south to see. We bought some of the Stylecraft over head over heels, but this was in the Show Your Pride, I know that. These were, oh, did I write this one down? I did. These, yeah, so the Stylecraft head over heels Show Your Pride, and it's in the colorway BU. No idea if this yarn's still being sold. I want to say it is, but really, really cool. Really nice to work with, and honestly holds up really quite well. It's started to felt a little bit in places, but really not too bad. And yeah, so I got those shipped off for her birthday. And I think that's all our socks. Let's do hats. So I think there's a few hats that I'm missing off of Ravelry, but I don't remember. I don't remember as much as that. But I think this is everything. At the start of 2023, I made like a navy confetti beanie, which I had planned to be a gift, but I realised the person it was going to maybe wouldn't like it so much. So I had also knit myself a really nice like forest green beanie in like a merino wool. And that was originally for me, and the confetti one was for him. This is for my brother. But just like me, he has quite sensitive skin, and I said, you know, I'm actually going to give you the choice. Which of these two would you like? And he was like, well, I feel bad because you made this. And I was like, don't worry about that. Like, if you want that one, you take that. And he did, and you know, he took that with him. I don't think I have a picture of it. I could probably find a picture of the yarn, supposedly. And I don't have the yarn written down either, which is really frustrating. I think it's a yarn that I found in Norway. Yeah, it is. So it was the Arlen Royal Tweed. That was just a 2x2 beanie, I want to say. I will just check. Yeah, 2x2 beanie. And then I made 3 of the same thing, but one of them was in Drops Wish. It was in the colour Bordeaux, and this was like a really nice rich red. I don't really have pictures of that. Again, I have pictures of the yarn, I have pictures of me in that. This was a gift for my granddad. It was for his birthday, and he loves Paddington Bear, so I made him a red bucket hat. It was a bit small though, and I don't really think he can wear it. So if not, I'll make him another one. I'll take that one back because it just very snugly fit over my head. The pattern for this was a pattern from Well Loved Knits. I think it's just the knit bucket hat. It was really nice. It was really fun. I loved it. I just wish I'd bound off a bit looser. Otherwise it would have been perfect. And I used all 3 skeins of my Drop Swish. I was like, well, I want a bucket hat. And she gave, I want to say there was 2 options. There was the Drop Swish, and then there was also a boucle option. So I was like, well, hey, I want to give that a go. So this is still 2023, and I made myself what I call my fluffy teddy bucket hat. This is using Drops Alpaca. I don't remember the colour name off the top of my head, and I don't know if it will tell me. I think it's just the brown mix, and then the alpaca boucle was also brown. I love this so much. I have worn it so much. I've had so many compliments on it. This is the same pattern. It's a similar gauge. I think, I want to say it's 1 strand of alpaca and 2 strands of boucle. So I made one of these. I love it so much. And then if one wasn't enough, I also made another one. This was in the, oh, there's actually names on this one. Same yarn, so alpaca, but in the light camel, and the alpaca boucle in the light beige. And I basically made a matching version, but in a lighter colour. And this was actually a gift, and still is a gift. I still need to give it to her. It's difficult when you have friends overseas and you don't visit. This is a gift for one of my online friends who I had made this for, and it still needs to go to her. So, but yeah. So she's also going to get a really lovely teddy bucket hat, and it's very on brand for her. And this one was also finished in June of 2023. Felt like it was getting a bit dark, so I thought that I would mess with how bright it is. Next, I want to quickly go through scarves and things like that. In 2023, I would have podcasted about this. I made and finished my first Sophie scarf, which was in a black colour. The Sophie scarf is by Petite Knit, and I used Permin Sarah, which is a 50% merino, 50% Shetland wool. Comes in a hank, and you need to unwind it. And then I also used Viking of Norway Kid Silk, which is really nice yarn. That is, of course, a lace weight, and that one is 77% mohair and 23% silk. The Kid Silk was in Svart, which is black, and the Permin was in Soft, which is also black. I made the larger size of the Sophie scarf pattern, and I loved it, but I don't have it with me because it stayed in Norway. So although I miss it, I might bring it back with me next time. I will also touch on another Sophie scarf that I don't have with me, because it was a gift. It was a Christmas gift that year. This went to my sister-in-law, and I loved this Sophie scarf. I think it was so cute. I still have some more yarn left over, and part of me really wants to make more. Also the larger size. So I made this in November. This was in Stylecraft. I think I've been calling it Batik, but I think it's Batik, DK. And that was in the colour Biscuit, which I just feel so happy every time I think of that. It was a beautiful colour. It looked like this, and it was just, I loved it. I loved it so much. That yarn was a 80% acrylic, 20% wool. You wouldn't have been able to tell. It's a really, really lovely yarn. So much so that I actually bought a couple more in a colour that ended up being darker than I imagined. And because I think it was going discontinued, or at least it was on a sale. and that made me sad because I liked that yarn. I loved working with it. I loved how the colours worked up. It was really nice. So those were my 2 first Sophie scarves. So this is still 2023. I started this in September and I finished it in November, and this is my Sophie shawl, and it is quite huge. The camera colour is gonna be a bit squiffy right now, but it is quite big. This is also a pattern by Petite Knit, the Sophie shawl. I used leftovers of my double Sunday from Sandler's Garn, from my first slipover, which was my novice slipover, for this. This was in a discontinued colour. The colour code was 2543 from what I can read. I love it. I don't know if you can tell, but it is a bit pilly. You can really tell more at the bottom. It's a bit scruffy. It's a bit pilly. But honestly, I love this thing and I would make more for sure. The shawl was definitely a lot longer winded though because it took so much longer. But yeah, I really liked it. I'm really glad I made it, and I would absolutely make another one. Talking of shawls, I made my mum a shawl in a cotton yarn. This was in a really lovely lime green colour, and I probably could go try and find it, but I didn't want to. So I'll put pictures up. This was using, I think, a free pattern. It was the Boneyard Shawl by Stephen West, and I would absolutely, and am going to be making another one of these. This was for her 50th birthday, and she loved it, and she still loves it, so much so that she asked for another one. So I really recommend this pattern. Once you get your head around the start, because the garter tab scenario is a bit like, if you don't really know what it means. One thing I will say is YouTube is a great resource in regards to, like, if you're unsure of how to do something, if there's like one little abbreviation in the pattern that you're not sure, and I do this even when I'm going through a pattern and I can't quite remember how to do it, I have like a playlist, like a private playlist on my YouTube where I keep all of the really short, you know, like 30-second to a minute videos of people just showing how to do that. A lot of it I think is very pink knits. Pretty much all of her tutorials are in there. So I just had to research how to do the garter tab scenario, and then after that it was so easy. Yeah, I will absolutely be making another one of those. And then finally, for scarves and shawls and all of that good stuff, I made this. Oh, actually, the shawl for my mum was also in 2023, and then in November 2024. So this is the last time I went to Norway to spend time with my fiance. This was actually the trip that we got engaged, so it's still quite recent. I was gifted, I don't even know when I was gifted this. I was gifted this pattern along with the yarn to make it. The pattern is the mini scarf by Beastrik, and it was in Norwegian, which is fine. Not a problem. My Norwegian is definitely getting there, very slowly. And this was a gift from my fiance's mum, and it was so kind. She also gifted me 2 yarns, which was the Sayer Madeline. I can actually just do this with you actually, which is 80% wool and 20% linen / flax. And that was in the colour 0E, so just like, I guess just their kind of standard colour. And then I also got a skein of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, which I think this is the first time I had worked with it, and it is just, oh, it's so nice. And that is of course a lace. It is 70% mohair, 30% silk, and that was in the colour Havre. And yeah, I still have some left over from this. But this is the Beastrik mini scarf. It is so cute. It is a really lovely pattern. and honestly I love it. I quite often will wear it like this. I think this is probably how you're supposed to wear it. It's a bit too big to put in my hair still, which is a bit sad, because also during that time of not filming, we shaved my hair off and it's still growing back. We're getting there, but yeah, it was short in that time. So yeah, I love this and I wear this quite often as well. And honestly, the mohair is gorgeous. But also the Isaiah yarn is also really lovely. As I said, I have some left over, so I have plans on casting on not another one of these, although I would make another one of these because this pattern is just so squish. I have plans on making another scarf, which I think I will talk about soon. So that's my scarves. So let me just recatch up with myself. I have gone over socks, hats and beanies, baby items, a few small things and scarves, which means that I need to go through all of my big stuff, or bigger stuff. So buckle up, let's go through those. So to try and go through this in order, as best as I can, I think I podcasted about this. I'm pretty sure. I think I might not have. I don't know if I did. I finished my first sweater, my first jumper. I was gonna wear this for this video, and then I was like, actually, I'm quite warm. So this is my first ever actual full length jumper sweater. My camera's blowing out a bit, but I absolutely love it. It is a circular sweater. I went through a phase of not really liking wearing this, and I went through a phase where I just wasn't enjoying mohair. Found it very itchy, very very, and actually when I started wearing this more for work recently, especially over the winter, I love it and I have no issues with it. So I think I was just being a big old baby. It is the Novice Sweater by Petite Knit. And yeah, I love it. I just love it so much. I used Drops Kid Silk. This was in the kind of like a navy blue colour. But I think the colour code was 28. It was in the marine blue colour. I also used the Woolly Knit 4-ply merino wool cones for this. I'm pretty sure I did this as part of a knit along. I want to say it was the Well Loved Cowl, I think. So the Woolly Knit was at a discount because of her code, but it was really lovely. So it's just a circular yoke. You can kind of see, particularly as well, the jumper is stretched out over time. So you can see like the eyelet, where like the increases are in the jumper. But I love it. I just love it so much. It's such a cozy jumper to go back to, both physically and emotionally. I love it so very much, and it definitely holds a very special place for me. It was knit on a 6mm needle, so that was also very nice. I have a lot of memories with this jumper, being in the cabin and just in general. This was at the time where I knit this in Norway in 2023 of April. I was there for Easter. This was the last time I went there before I started working again, and I love it. And at the time as well, my fiance's mum was actually knitting on, gosh, I have it in my queue somewhere. I found it. At the time, the same time, ironically, my fiance's mum was also knitting on a navy blue jumper, and it was sweater number 9. Like maybe my favorite things. So we said we were going to get a photo, but we didn't. So I don't know if we're still going to do that. It would be kind of nice. It kind of gave it somewhat like a mild kind of look because the mohair is slightly lighter than the actual merino, but yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And I knit it in the extra large. And then next, I finished off in the year of 2022. I made 2 of these, and in 2023, I made a third. This is my Little Secret Crop by Jessie May Designs, and this is the 3rd version I had made. I've just realised I haven't got a watch on. I'm the whole day without wearing my watch. Gosh, I feel weird. And it is a 3 by, I want to say it's a 3 by 1 rib pattern. It's just a vest top. This 3rd one I made. I want to say I made the smaller size, like 1 size down, so I made the large. And I also made it shorter and added a bigger rib because that sat a bit better for me. For this, I used Milk Fern Merino, I think, and I did it in the light grey and the dark grey. It meant that I could use up a lot of the dark grey yarn. This is a superwash yarn as well, but honestly, it's held up really well for a superwash yarn. I will say that. So that was, started that in January, finished that in April. The next thing I made, which honestly, I don't really know what to do about. I made the Allure Camisole by KG. It's very scrunched up, so I apologise about that. But it's a V-neck camisole. I'll be honest, I think I've worn this like twice. I think I was just a bit disappointed with how it turned out. I used this yarn here. I used the Catania. I used all of it, and I didn't even really get to finish it. That's how close I was to finish off the I-cord bind off. I finished off the bind off, but I couldn't connect it because literally that's all I had. I think the choice of yarn was bad. I think it's my fault. It is my fault. Yarn choice is a bad choice. I made the size L2, and I would knit this again, but I would 1 size down, 2 knit it in a yarn that's going to have a bit more stretch, because I have something against making t-shirts in merino since making those vest tops, and I shouldn't have that. I shouldn't have that issue. Part of me wants to rip this out and make something else with it, but I don't really know what else I can make with so little yarn if it didn't even finish off a vest top. Granted, quite a big vest top, but that's not going to be enough to make a t-shirt, for example. So I don't know, I think I'm just kind of stuck with this for now, and then I'll just see. But I haven't really worn this, and I was so excited to wear it. I love the decreases and the increases along here. They're like lifted increases. I say decreases, just increases. Well, it's knit top down. You do like the 4 triangles, and then you join them together and knit down. It was really cool. Like the actual increases are really cool, in my opinion. But I haven't worn it, and I think I'm gonna probably rip it out and make something else, and make another Allure Cami later at a different date. I forgot to. These are on hangers because it's easier to show. But the next thing I did, which was also for a cowl, the knit along, which I think was actually for, well, yeah, this was a Tolsta cowl. So this would have been a cowl with Rebecca from the Career Bear. This is my Tolsta Tee. I made it in the 5th size, I think, and I used the Woolly Knit cotton 4-ply cones. I got 1 cone in white, 1 cone in this mint colour, and I have worn this a lot. You can tell as well, like the armpits are looking a bit felted, not felted, but like they're kind of just getting a bit stiff, and yeah, I think it's really cool. The neckline, I did a smaller neckline anyway, so I dread to think what this would be like if I'd stuck to the pattern. There's like a bit in there that tells you how many stitches to do if you don't want it to be such a not wide neckline, because it does tend to grow. And yeah, it's still quite a big neckline, but I love this thing and I want to make so many more. I have a Tolsta 4-ply on my needles. It has been for a while, and yeah, I want to make more Tolsta tees. But I think what I would change is possibly cast on even less stitches, and maybe also do a folded collar. I'm learning that I really like folded collars because it just makes things so much easier when you need to put elastic in there, which elastic, this is like the first thing I put elastic in, which I'll talk about at the end because it's like one of the last things that I made. I think this is the last thing I knit and finished that I can show. So yes, Tolsta Tee is by Rebecca Clow, which is the Crayabea. Fantastic pattern. And since then she's added bust shaping, because that's the only thing I have an issue with this, is that this t-shirt just flares out at the bottom. I think if I wanted to, I could rip this back and do a few decreases here. If it bothers me that much, I might actually do that. I might, you know, rip out the bind off. So I think the bind off is actually just in pattern. Yeah, that's not a tubular bind off. Really? Did I not do a tubular bind off? Wow. I do a tubular bind off where I can now. That would be quite easy to rip out then. So I might actually rip this out and maybe like take it up, maybe like to here, where this third green, I can't count, that's the fourth green stripe, is, and maybe start decreasing so it's like ever so slightly comes in a bit more. I do like this. I've just realised that I like my t-shirts that have linen in them a bit more than 100% cotton, just because I find that they last longer before I need to wash them, and also they don't smell as much. They just hold their self a bit better, and they're just a little more comfortable, I think. So I would also knit this again, but possibly in Drops Bell or Sanders Garn Lena. That was in the Optic White and the mint colour. Yes. Okay, after that, we're going back to a woolly project, quite literally, because it's knit in woolly knit. And I knit, the amount that I have worn this is incredible. I very much recommend this pattern. Oh my goodness. This was also the first pattern that I knit short rows, German short rows, and I did it for the neck, and I just, oh, I love it. These two together are really cool as well. But this is the Semper V-neck slipover by the Knit Pearl Girl. I did double-stranded woolly knit in the same merino wool that my first jumper is knit in, which is a little navy. I don't know if I said that. I probably ended up putting it on the screen because I forgot to say. I really enjoyed this, and I made it purposely cropped because, and honestly maybe a bit too cropped by like maybe like 2-3 rows, because my other slipover, Novice Slipover, I don't wear that much because I think it's too long. And because it's so thick and the gauge is a bit thicker than what it should be, it just it doesn't sit right on my hips. I've got quite short, I've got an end sticking out. I should probably fix that. I've got quite a short, before my hips actually start, I've got quite a short space here, and because I am quite I'm more of like the bigger size around here, it just, and I've quite wide hips, I just look very, it's not very flattering on me. It makes me look very boxy, and not in a good way. When you're a bit curvier, looking boxy is not usually 9 times out of 10 very flattering. I made it cropped, and honestly this has become just such a huge thing for me to wear all the time. I would absolutely make another one. I would absolutely make the yo neck version as well. And I would probably knit the jumper as well. She has a sweater pattern for it as well. The short rows were really cool. It was really fun to learn how to do those, and I prefer patterns that have them now. And yeah, I just love this. I love this so much. So I knit this in, I didn't say what size I knit this in, but I think it was like I want to say it was either size G or H, but I didn't write that down. It doesn't actually pill that much considering how much I wore it / wear it. The next thing I made I don't have with me, and it was the first test knit I ever did. I don't have it with me because I ripped it out. Like the other week I ripped it out. And I ripped it out as part of Finish It February because I don't wear it, because the fit was not it was a test knit for the wonderful Sharon of Contour Knit. She was so incredible throughout the first test knit. I've actually test knit for her 3 times, because I enjoyed the test knit itself so much. There was an issue with sizing and the numbers for my size that I did, but I realized that I didn't make a good choice with sizing. It worked for the test knit for her feedback, but that top grew horribly. It didn't fit. It was way too wide. I took a video for the sake of this video so I could kind of show what it looked like before I ripped it out. But it was the Vico tank and it was a beautiful test knit. I really want to reknit this, and I want to knit it in the recommended yarn, which I think is knitting for olive silk. And honestly, for that vest top, I think I would do that because it's just, yeah, it's fantastic. This was in, oh flippin' heck, that same brand that I can't pronounce, but this yarn has since, like, we're talking like currently is on sale, and I've already missed out on most of the colours, is being discontinued, and I'm genuinely very sad about that. It is the Bamboo Soft by this brand here, and I don't know why it's been discontinued, but it's so nice. I believe it's 50%, 50%, so 50% cotton, 50% bamboo. The other yarn that I was considering with when I was swatching was a 100% cotton, and it was just as soft, if not softer. That's also been discontinued. So I don't know where, like, who decided that, but yeah. But I'm currently using that yarn to knit my 4-ply Tolsta, which I'm really excited about because the colour is just, I think it's going to be so nice. But yeah, so I don't have this anymore, but I will reknit a Vico tank. I don't think it's going to be this year, it might be next year. But I really do, and I want to knit a much smaller size. Because as well, like, my weight has been all over the place over the last few years, so I want to make sure that it's a good size, it fits, and I'm happy with it. Moving on to the next thing, I have 3 of the next thing, and this is inside out. Gosh, I didn't prep very well for this, did I? That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. So there is 3 of the same thing. This is the framework bralette by Jessie May Designs, and it is, as you can see, a bralette. It is mainly garter with a few stockinette / rib. There's like a slip stitch detail on both sides. This is a really cool yarn. It's like a peach yarn, and it's got like neon flecks in it. As usual, I'll put up a picture of all of these. I don't know if I added the size for any of these because I'm so helpful for myself. No, I don't remember. I remember that I made the size I think I was supposed to for this one, and then this was too short, so I was like, okay, well, I'll make another one that, and also it just didn't really stay put where it was supposed to. There was this one. These are all in the same, no, these first 2 are in the same yarn, so the vintage cotton. This is the size down, and I also made it longer to cater for the issue. This is just in like a brown colour, but it ended up being not quite, it ended up being too tight here for me, so this wasn't quite right either. What I did is I combined sizes, and this is my 3rd version. This is actually Drops Cotton Light, rust colour, and with this one I meshed it basically. I did the bigger size cups, but I decreased so much that it was the smaller size band, and I also made it really long, and this fits me really well. I think just as a bigger bust person, I just need to come to terms with the fact that I can't knit stuff that I can use as like a actual bra, which is really sad. So yeah, I have those 3, and sometimes I do just want something really light and, you know, chill, so I'll put that one on, or like I want something that's a bit tighter and I'll put that one on, but usually I tend to gravitate towards the 3rd version. And yeah, so I made all of those. This is still 2023 we're talking about right now. And then in between the 2nd and the 3rd version, at least, I made this, and I love this so much. This is the Crescendo summer top. I remember seeing this on Instagram before it was released. I remember seeing the test knit application for it, and I want to say that I did apply, but I didn't get it. I want to say I started this in September 2023, finished it in October 2023, and I knit this in the size G. This is also by the Knit Pearl Girl, and I love this so much. If I could, which I might, honestly, because why not? It's my choice. If I could, I think I would just knit a standard t-shirt in this with this pattern without the motifs as well, because the fit of this is so nice. I love it so much. Sorry, it's got lines all over it from when it was drying, which is why it's been on a coat hanger to try and remove those lines. I used Sanders Garn Lena. The first time I'd used that yarn, I used a discontinued coloured yarn which I'd had in my stash, or I'd just bought, and I realised that it would be perfect for this, and I bought, I think, everything they had. And I was still a bit worried that I wasn't going to have enough, but I certainly did. I've got 1.5 left over, which isn't quite enough to do the crescendo tank toppy vest, the strappy top. I'll put a picture here, which is a bit sad because I think having both of those would be really fun. Or I think maybe I applied for that one and I don't know. This was 2023. I don't even remember what I did yesterday. I love this, and this is the one I felt before I made this. This is the one that I felt would last for so long. And was just so comfortable to wear. I made the sleeves, I think, a bit longer than what the pattern recommended because I don't really like short sleeves. I'm not a huge fan of my arms, so I would prefer to cover those over if I can. So yeah, I made that as well, and I was so happy. I think that was the first time I followed a chart as well, I think, and it was just generally a very fun experience. But that then, the next thing would have been my holly socks. That then takes us into 2024. And honestly, there's not that much. There is, mainly because I made a lot in 2024. And when I say I made a lot, I crocheted so much stuff. So many plushies, so many other things. So many scrunchies. 2024 was the year that I kind of really was like, okay, I'm making a lot of stuff. Maybe I should consider putting up an Etsy shop. Second test knit for contour knit, and this is these next two. If you get the chance, do knit her pattern, support her, because throughout the whole test knit, she was so great. She was so supportive. She was there when we needed her. She was just fantastic at everything, fixing the problems, coming back to you, troubleshooting, and the patterns themselves they look beautiful. I 100% recommend test knitting for her, and I absolutely would again. I didn't do her most recent test knits because there was just too much in life going on, but I absolutely would have, because and the group she chooses as well. There was a few of us that were repeat testers. And everyone was so lovely. So I started this in December because I had to wait for my yarn. I think the test knit actually started in November, and I was finished it in January. This is, I think, probably my most worn jumper before I knit the one that I'm not going to talk about because I finished that in 2025. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I have worn it in other videos. So you might see that soon. But this is my camera's going to blow the colour out again. This is the A Chill Jumper by Contour Knit. When I say that I loved this test knit and I loved this pattern, I truly do, and I truly I love it. The fit of this jumper is everything. It's a beautiful drop shoulder pattern. It has slightly wider sleeves. It's got a really lovely decreased detail like at the cuff, and like the actual details themselves are just lovely. And then like the star of the show, we'll say, is the cable that goes down on both sides, and then it's a split hem. The pattern has you do the same amount, but I did mine as I usually do, front shorter and the back longer. And I knit this in a yarn that I was so excited about. Drops Daisy, and I haven't seen much about it, but I'm still yet to catch up on a lot of my podcasts that I missed that kind of year out of my life where they were also going to use Drops Daisy. If you can see this, like, granted, like, this has become like my workhorse jumper. It's become like my, if I need to go do anything outside, if I need to go do any clearing. I've been helping out my friend clear her house for the last few months, and I've been wearing this because I just kind of have lost all attachment to it getting ruined. Not all, but this yarn, be warned, pills horribly. It pilled before it started pilling before I'd even blocked the bloody thing. And I got really upset because the first day I wore it, it just looked horrible. It looked so bad, and you can see that it just looks absolutely terrible. The back looks lovely still, but everything else, I don't know what the scenario is with other people that have used it. To be honest, I say that I wouldn't buy it again. I possibly might if I am pairing it with mohair, because mohair as a general helps with pilling. The only things I'd say, so I knit this in a size D, so I knit this in the 4th size at the time. I don't know what the measurements schemics are since the pattern, but I loved this jumper. The neckline, however, is too tight. I can just back it over my head, and I have to really like fight everything that I've got going on. So if I've got clips in my hair, I've got to take my glasses off. If I'm wearing makeup, I need to do my makeup after this is on. I 100% have plans on knitting another one of these. 100%, and it's probably going to be this year. I'm thinking in like a nice red, like a dark, deep red. That's what I've got in my head. And I'd probably do a folded collar as well, because the neckline is really cool, but I think I just prefer the folded down scenario rather than the high collar. Like, I'll show these are the pictures I use from my like test knit feedback sort of thing. This is like during, and you can just see like the definition in like this picture particularly. I was so excited because this drops Daisy, but this yarn completely ruined this whole jumper that I've got going on. And what it has done is it has given me a jumper that I feel no stress about getting dirty. I've also noticed as well the sleeves have shrunk over time, and I think it's because the yarn is felting. Actually it is, because you can hear it. Like, I don't think you can, if it would pick up for you, but you can hear the fibres kind of split. Absolutely 100% wholeheartedly recommend you going to get this pattern, because this pattern is so damn nice, but just not in that yarn. Honestly, just not in that yarn. If other people have tried it or if they've improved a certain scenario, do let me know in the comments. You know, let me know if things have changed since we're talking the start of last year, so literally over a year ago when the yarn first came out. It might be different now, but the yarn is incredibly soft, I will say that. But it's also in a colour that's so close to my double Sunday, and I don't know why I did that. I would have been better off going for like a tan, like a more of a tan rather than a camel. But not camel. This is the colour 12 in caramel, for reference as well. But I absolutely love the cable going down the side, and it's just, I'm really excited, basically, all that to say, to make another one. I think it's a DK gauge, so if you've got a few, if you've got a few amount of skeins of DK lying around, I think I used under 11 skeins of Drops Daisy. I love it. I love this jumper. I just don't love this jumper. I love the pattern. I just don't love this jumper because this is just, it's too much. It shouldn't be pilling this much. And it's impossible to depill it. I depill it, but within 5 minutes of me wearing it again, it just gets like this. So I've just kind of given up at this point, and I'll do it like maybe once a year, and we'll see. So we're on to the last two things, and then I've got a few random little things just to mention at the end that aren't knitting related. This is the third test knit I did for Sharon, which is contour knit. And I used a yarn that was really a big gamble. I had no idea if it was going to work. But it's a yarn I bought for baby projects. Baby projects didn't happen, and I was like, hey, you know what? I could use that yarn for that test knit. My gosh, I'm so glad I did. Right, there was this pattern took quite a long time. And honestly, there was quite a lot of things that needed to be fixed during this test knit as well. I specifically remember things having to be put on hold for a little bit because things needed to be revisited, because it was like issues like at the start as well. But this slipover is hands down the prettiest thing I've ever made. Truly and honestly, the prettiest thing. This is the Strandhill Slipover by Contour Knit. It's gorgeous. So it's an open slipover at the sides. You could probably modify it, honestly, if you knew what you were doing, but I personally wouldn't, because there's a lot going on at the back. Yeah, open at the sides, and it's tied. I want to say that I maybe did the same on both sides lengthwise. I think I kept pretty true to pattern, but this, oh god, this cable texture is just, oh my god, it's amazing. The only thing I am noticing, I just constantly have to like stretch it out that way. You could wear it with the neck up, you could wear it with like the neck folded down. I think that's what I do quite a lot. It's just, since then, more recently, I think just before Christmas, she released this pattern, I think, and it was a slipover and collar set. I think I would knit the collar as well, as actually, to be honest. And she's also knit like a blanket and a scarf, and in this pattern, because we said like you shouldn't release like a sweater, or you should release more in this stitch pattern, because this is just it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I knit this in Mjukspira, which is the baby merino. I only had, I think, 6 skeins, so I was like, oh, it's kind of fine, but I think I can do it. And I did it in under 5. I have like the tiniest bit left over. If I had the patience and the real big want to do it, I genuinely think that I would knit the blanket. But truthfully, I don't know if I can do it. Because it's a beautiful pattern, it's very repetitive, and it's on quite small needles as well. It's like 3.5. It hurt my hands and my wrists after a while, but oh my god, it's one of those patterns which is 100% worth it. I really think that, yeah, the patterns that Sharon has come out with is just wonderful. I'm patiently waiting for her cable socks to come out as well, because they were gorgeous. Yeah, so I I knit this. So I basically come from doing a cable for the first time on Maya Chill to doing all over cables in this test knit as well. I knit the size B, by the way, because I learned my lesson from some of the other things I'd made that I actually think I usually size down a little bit more compared to what I should, or that I should size down a bit more. And then the last thing is actually what I'm wearing, because I wanted to wear this. This is the Anchors Summer shirt by Petite Knit. It is knit in Drops Bell in the white colour. I used almost 100% of 8 skeins for my size. I think I knit the 5th size. I will say I was not ecstatic about how wide the collar was. The collar is originally this here, so if you ignore this bit here, that's the collar. I put elastic in it and it didn't really fix it, and I don't like wide collars. I think there's a time and place on some of the things, but the t-shirts that I wear, I don't want particularly to have a wide collar. I decided, after doing a bunch of different workings out as to how to make it look somewhat still seamless, that I was actually just gonna pick up stitches and knit an extra repeat, and made it smaller to fit as well. And then I also put, there's like an elastic in this bind off, because then it also meant that it had like a tubular bind off as well, which was a lot nicer. The arms are also particularly longer. I think I added 15 extra rows, like so significantly longer. It has elastic in here, like it's just a shearing elastic, like a sewing elastic. I'm really happy that I picked up this. It's like ever so slightly, like I do feel this on my neck, and sometimes I'm a bit like, you know, when you can just feel it, but I'd rather that than what it was before. Oh my god, I've just remembered something as well. So in 2023, also in 2023, this everything, honestly everything happened in 2023, and I just stopped recording. Me and my sister-in-law, we went to the Summer Wool Festival, which is held in Bedford or Amphill, super local to me, and I was so excited about it. And it was actually my crescendo that I think I was doing last year. No, was it my crescendo or was it my Tolsta? Hang on, why don't I just have a look? Why don't I just have a look? Let's have a look. It wasn't my crescendo, it was my Tolsta. Ignore me. Let's try this story again. It's my Tolsta. That means I would have finished this in July rather than June. That's quite funny. Wait, hang on, I know why my crescendo. I have a habit of knitting something and then I get really excited because there's like an event coming up when I'm really close to finishing the project. And I'm like trying to get it finished. So for the first year of the Summer Wool Festival, I wore this, but it wasn't finished. When I say it wasn't finished, I had threaded the yarn through the bottom. I have no idea. I don't remember where it was. I think it was probably like this much left to do, honestly. I threaded it through and I wore it unfinished. I tucked in the threads. I still had the stitch markers and everything. And I wore this t-shirt unfinished to the Summer Wool Festival 2023 because I finished this in October, right? Okay, started this in September, finished in October, but I was so close again, like here, to finishing it. And we had a meal for my mum's birthday, so I did the same thing. I put it on hold. I threaded the yarn through and I wore it out with the yarn tucked into my trousers. Not the whole yarn, I cut the yarn, but like the thread that had gone through and then round. And I wore this unfinished with live stitches, just the thread running through it. And totally worth it. Summer Wool Festival 2024, you guessed it, did the same thing with this, because this is specifically, I made quite long. I think I made 2 patterns, but it's still quite long and I hadn't finished the bottom as usual. So I did the same thing again and I put it on live stitches. I joked about it every time I'd seen my sister-in-law. I joked about it and she laughed. And I did the same for the 2024 Summer Wool Festival. And I got so many compliments on it as well. I was so happy I wore it. They were like, "Oh, I love your t-shirt," or like, "Is that the anchors?" I was like, "Yeah." And not one of them knew that it was unfinished because it was tucked in. Who's gonna know? Well, now you guys know, but it really did feel like I was walking around going, "Who's gonna know?" Nobody's gonna know. So normalize wearing your unfinished projects, I guess. I really feel like I said that at some point and I posted that somewhere, but I have no idea where. But yes, I love this. This is my favourite t-shirt of all of them. Probably, honestly, it's this one, then the Crescendo, then the Tolsta, purely because the Tolsta has such a wide neckline and also it flares. The last things I want to talk about, because that's basically all my knitting. I finished this Anchors summer shirt in July, end of July 2024, and yeah, I love this and I would like to make another one of these, possibly in black. I forgot as well, there's a whole ordeal about this. I took it to my grandparents whilst I was knitting on it, as I'd usually do on a Sunday. I go and see my grandparents every Sunday. It's really lovely. My nan had made me a tea. This is white yarn. And she was passing over my tea, like kind of being like, here you go. And she didn't realise, but she had spilt tea on it. And like, that's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. But it didn't come out. Like, it wasn't coming out at all. So it ended up me kind of being like, oh. And she was like, well, how silly was it? Like, she thought I did it. I was like, I'm not going to correct this. And anyway, I couldn't get it out myself. So what do you do in times of need like that? She offered to sort it for me. So she did such a great job as well, because you really can't see anywhere on it anymore that there was a massive tea stain that I couldn't get out. Like, it was all over, because obviously I was knitting it, it was crumpled up. There was like under the arm, it was like there was a massive patch on the front, and I was genuinely heartbroken. But I wasn't too stressed, because at the end of the day, if I can't get it out, I was just going to dye it black. It's like the safest colour to dye it. I'm just going to dye it black, which I think is why I want a black one now, because I kind of come to terms with the fact that it might end up going black anyway. But yeah, she did a fantastic job at getting the stain out. And yeah, I love my nan. Little story. Right, so I'm now going to go through some very quick, like, sewing, cross stitch, crochet things. So just to round this off, I think I'm going to go very quickly. Not going to show everything, probably just show everything on a photo or video, but because I've been talking for a very long time, I'm very tired. Very quickly, just do a rundown. 2023, I really picked up my sewing and kind of ran with it a bit. I made multiple bags. Specifically, I used this sort of fabric. This is also dirty, because this was the one that I was ironically using whilst I was knitting this, and you can still see the tea stains that haven't come out of this instead. But I made this project bag, and I made this project bag, and I love them. I made multiple other bags. I made pin cushions, plushies, etc. So that was 2023. 2024 in sewing, I made more plushies. I made little bee plushies, which are so cute. Wristlets, pet bandanas, which I made for my pet, or for my pups, and also sewed a couple. Yeah. Some bowl cozies, etc. In 2024, and the end of 2023, going into 2024, I crocheted so much. I have crocheted so many plushies, and I feel like for someone that didn't think they'd ever be able to do amigurumi, I feel very confident looking at a pattern and kind of basically knowing what they want me to do. And yeah, so much so that with my little business, I have been doing UKCA and CE testing and things like that. So actual legal plushies. I took a massive break from Etsy, but they're going to be coming back onto the shop, and it's really exciting. It's a really big thing to have such an incredible label against what you make. It's really cool. But besides the fact that it's really cool to be able to sell plushies that I made that are UKCA and CE tested and approved, it's also a legal requirement. So I did so much crochet. And then finally, I got back into cross stitch. And the first thing I cross stitched was a kit from Hobbycraft, and it's this little guy. He's so cute, and I think I still haven't cut this off, but I think I'm just going to leave him in the hoop because I think he looks cute as heck. It's just that his feet get cut off a little bit, but he's cute. So I did that. I finished that in 2024. Started and finished in 2024. Then the other thing I made was a bookmark for my partner. I don't have the bookmark. If I can grab a picture, I'll put it here. But it was just a little owl's bookmark. Also a kit from Hobbycraft. I have currently many cross stitch kits and projects to do. Lots of crochet to do. I have mainly essentially a crochet business at this point. Crochet and sewing, because I do sell some knit things, but I actually found that if I keep my knitting to a personal thing, or if I want to gift knitting, or I can do commissions, then I find that a lot more fun rather than turning knitting into the thing that I wanted to pursue in the shop way. And I have so many knitting projects that I want to do. Last month was Finish It February, and I've taken multiple bunches of footage of things that I have done during that month, things that I've been working on. I had a lot of things that needed to be finished, and without giving too much away, that's hopefully going to be finished soon as well. I just basically need to do a roundup for it. I have a lot of yarn, so stash debusting. Debusting? Yeah, that sounds really fun actually. Let's just go shopping. Yarn and stash busting. Destashing busting is a thing that is happening. There will be hopefully a bit more in depth as to how I am getting rid of my stash and how I am going to be knitting a bunch of plans. I have a lot of plans already set up for my year, or at least until the end of summer, so I can do a plans video at some point because I pretty much know what I want to do, so I may as well say it out loud, you know, to you guys on the camera so that it can become a thing that's actually spoken and out loud. That's pretty much it. That's everything I needed to bring you up to speed on from 2023 and 2024, because I did everything I did in 2022. I needed to finish this chapter off before I just came back and was like, hey, well, I'm wearing this and I made it with this, you know? Yeah. Lots of knitting still to come, like lots of knitting, lots of crochet. I want to also bring in the other crafts to the channel going forwards. That's why that's it. That's it. I feel like I rushed through a lot of this, like I really rushed through it, but I realize this is a really long video and I've probably given no value as to actual information to help other people, but at least I have got everything up to date here with what I have made and projects that I now have in that time that I was gone. So but I hope that you still enjoyed it, and if you made it this far, thank you very much. I will be back with a normal, somewhat podcasting scenario, situation, schedule thing at some point in the near future. I'd like to probably start it from March this month, and just include January because I didn't really have that much from January, but I did have a lot in February. So the February podcast is essentially going to be my finish February vlog thing. I hope that you guys will still want to follow my journey with all of this and my projects and what I'm making, because I have been making even if I've been too unwell to film. So yeah, thank you so much for taking time or spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful. For those that are still sticking around, I'm really thankful. So thank you so much. I will be back very soon. Let me know what you thought of my projects. What's your favourite? The test knit garments, for example. Did you find something new in this video that is now going to make you go get one of her patterns, for example? Let me know. Let me know if you had a favourite thing that you had made between 2023 and 2024 as well. I hope to see you guys very soon, and thank you so much for being here. Bye.